All right, so we have a really big update on Israel's bombardment campaign in Gaza. You now have another country officially entering the war and declaring war on Israel. So Yemen decided, no more. We're hopping in this. Spokesman of the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen takes responsibility for drone and missile attacks against Israel. So here's the statement. With the help of God Almighty, our armed forces launched a large number of ballistic and winged missiles, as well as drones at various targets of the Israeli enemy in the occupied territories. The Yemeni armed forces confirm that this is the third operation in support of our oppressed brothers in Palestine, and that the armed forces will continue to carry out more qualitative missile and drone attacks until Israel ceases its aggression. The Yemeni armed forces confirm that this is the third operation in support of our oppressed brothers in Palestine, and that the armed forces will continue to carry out, I think that's repeating the same point. We affirm that our Yemeni people's attitude on the Palestinian issue is firm and ethical, and that the Palestinian people have the full right to self-defense and legitimate rights. The Zionist enemy entity's ongoing execution of crimes and killing against the people of the Gaza Strip and all of occupied Palestine destabilizes the region and extends the circle of conflict. The victory comes only from Allah. So these missiles that they fired, and by the way, there were reports even like a week into the conflict, there were reports of some missiles being fired from Yemen. But I have to admit, when I saw those reports, I was very skeptical. Why? Because Yemen doesn't share a border with Israel. So I was like, what are they firing missiles that fly in the air for 2.5 hours before they attack Israel? And seemingly the answer was, yes, that's exactly what they're doing. So now they've officially entered the war. Now, my understanding is, I haven't seen any reporting that any of these missiles sent from Yemen have actually hit any targets, caused any damage inside Israel. But let me give you, there's another piece on this here. This is in India Today. By the way, this isn't being reported much in Western media, and I'm not quite sure, I don't understand why that is. It's very bizarre to me. Yemen's Houthis declare joining Israel-Hamas war. Part of an axis of resistance backed by Iran, the Houthis have rallied behind the Palestinians since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. Yemen's Houthis have waded into the Israel-Hamas war, ranging more than 1,000 miles from their seat of power in Sana'a, that's their capital, declaring on Tuesday they had fired drones and missiles at Israel in attacks that highlight the regional risks of the conflict. Part of an axis of resistance backed by Iran, the Houthis have rallied behind the Palestinians since Hamas attacked, opening a new front for a movement that has waged war for 8 years with a Saudi-led coalition in the Gulf. So here's why, okay, this is interesting for a number of reasons. Yemen was just involved in a very long-term war with Saudi Arabia. So the government of Yemen used to be a Sunni government, and the Houthis are Shia. And they toppled the Sunni government and took power in Yemen. And Saudi Arabia didn't like that, and they waged a relentless bombing campaign against Yemen, where thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands of innocent civilians were killed, and there was a blockade, and they couldn't get any food and fuel and all that stuff. It was vicious. And by the way, every step of the way, Saudi Arabia doing this to Yemen, they were backed by the United States, because we, of course, arm Saudi Arabia. We give them money, we give them support. We were even helping them with the bombing in Yemen. And but recently, tension sort of died down in that region. And I don't know, it looks like maybe Saudi Arabia gave up trying to topple the Houthis because they seem pretty entrenched in power in Yemen. And so now the Shia Houthis run Yemen. They're the government of Yemen. And they're hopping in to help Hamas. So Yemen is now an ally of Iran. Iran is a Shia theocracy. Yemen is Shia. And so they're jumping in to help Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni organization. They're not Shia, but they view Israel as a common enemy. So they're jumping in. The interesting part about this is it puts Saudi Arabia in a weird position, right? Because Yemen is still an enemy of Saudi Arabia, even though the war might not be hot now like it was previously. Does it make Saudi Arabia more inclined to continue the peace talks with Israel? Does it make them less inclined to jump in on the side of helping Palestinians? Because to this point, Saudi Arabia had changed its tune on Palestinians and become more sympathetic. Previously, they were saying no more harm done to Palestinians in the negotiations with Israel. Now they changed that to no, 1967 borders, Palestinians deserve a state. So there's interesting geopolitical implications here. What is Saudi Arabia going to do in reaction to this? What is, does this make it more likely Iran feels like their hand is forced and they're going to get in? What about Hezbollah in Lebanon, who, if anybody were to jump in more officially next, it would almost certainly be them. I would have bet anything that the Hezbollah in Lebanon jumps in before Yemen does. And by the way, Hezbollah is the force you really need to look out for. They are the most powerful non-state militia in the world. So they have way more fighting power, way more force than Hamas available. Yemen, on the other hand, I don't know. I think the distance between them and Israel makes it so that I don't know how much of an impact they could actually have in this. But Hezbollah is the one you really need to keep your eye out for. But now we have Yemen jumping in, and this is just another sign of how everything's spiraling out of control. And understand, you see it step by step. Every step of the way, you can see the tit for tat. You can see the escalation. You can see the way it's unfolding. But we most certainly know what direction it's moving in. And the direction is bad. The direction is more people involved. The direction is a much wider war in the region. So for the love of God, I mean, I know we've said it a million times, but we'll say it a million more. Joe Biden, rein in Netanyahu. Rein in the IDF. You have to stop them from relentlessly bombing nonstop and just destroying Gaza and doing forced displacement and killing civilians all over the place. This is going to happen the more you don't do anything or sign off on them killing all these people. So Yemen has now officially entered the war, and it's just another sign it's going to get uglier and uglier. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.